Drawing shadows in perspective gives you a wider variety of possible shadows. Here we have a T in perspective to a right vanishing point. The left vanishing point, if needed, would be over here. Now, for our angle down, we have another vanishing point, and for our ground angle, we have another vanishing point. These are known as auxiliary vanishing points. They are positioned to give you the angles necessary for the kind of light source you would have. In this case, the light source is behind the T and the shadow will come forward. Here I have drawn in our old friends, the poles, along a line in perspective for the bottom of the T, and I have drawn the ground angles using this vanishing point, and I've drawn the angle down from that vanishing point. Now, as we saw, once we find certain points on a shape that's drawn in isometric or perspective, the other points that line up with it will line up. In this case, these two come down to a point here that represents the top of the T, and a point here that represents the bottom of this side of the T. Using perspective, I can carry these across the other ground angles and find where the rest of the points for the T are located. This is the shape of the shadow. It's true to perspective because the shadow gets larger as it gets closer to you. It also is taller because of the position of the angle down. For instance, if this was the sun or a light bulb or whatever, the lower it is, the more it's going to stretch the shadow out. You can move the vanishing point and put the shadow in a new direction. The auxiliary vanishing points do not have to move together. The angle down now is over here, which is in front of the T, shines back to the T, and the shadow is going to fall behind it, using the same ground angles. Notice, because it's in perspective, there is foreshortening as it goes back, and the shadow becomes smaller. This makes it more realistic. Now I've moved the ground angle in front of the T. This is going to change the shadow a lot. When we deal with shadows from the sun, it's important to understand, because the sun is so far away, its light comes in with no change in angle at all. You only have the change in distance, so you have perspective. If you have a light source that's nearer an object, you get a different range of angle from the light source to one part of an object or another. Think if you're in a room and your silhouette shadow is cast on a wall from a lamp. The lamp is close to you, and because it's close to you, the angles change and your shadow or silhouette is much larger than you are on the wall. Let's look at this T. Again, I've dropped down one pole, because as we saw, that's all we need with the T shape. And I have the ground angles, and they fan out. Because now this light source is closer to the T. This is what I was talking about, the variables. You can play with these to get the kind of shadow you want, but also, because you're doing it this way, it'll look more realistic. Lines fan out. Angles down come down, find the points that represent these 2 points, carried back from the vanishing point again, and we have the shadow. Only this time it's distorted because the light source is in front and it's nearby. So the difference of the angle of it going from here to here to here is different from even going down just to the next part of the T. It gets wider, the shadow gets larger than the original object. This is something you have to play with when you use perspective in drawing shadows.